Hey guys, welcome into this episode of Charge Talk. Today, I kind of want to talk about the process in which, and more specifically, when should a head coach get fired in college or the NFL. And so I've been seeing a lot of stuff recently like we should fire X head coach or we shouldn't fire X head coach, and just kind of going back and forth on that. So I kind of wanted to go through and kind of break it down point by point. And first off, why does a coach get hired? Why do coaches get fired? And then when should a coach get fired? So first, as I said before, why do coaches get hired? One, especially in college, the connections to recruiting. So say that you have really good connections with high school coaches in a specific area. You can form a connection with a good amount of kids, kind of stuff like that. If you're a people person, not like Derek Dooley, who's not the greatest of recruiters. I mean, as we saw at the University of Tennessee, love ya, but don't beat us next year. I hate Missouri with all of my heart. Second is wins. So can a coach come in there and progressively win more and more games each year? I guess it also depends on what kind of program you are. Like, I have no issue with stabilizing coaches. As I think I've said before in previous videos, I may not have, but I'll say it now. Jason Garrett is a beautiful stabilizing head coach. He comes in there, really solidifies a program. It's not going to turn like a 8-8 team into a 12-4 team or a 13-3 team, unless he gets some incredible players and he's not going to turn a average team into a Super Bowl team. He's there. He can definitely bring up a team from like 4-12 to 8-8 and 10-6. That's what he's good at, and it's what he should be, or that's what he kind of is brought in for. He's also a pushover, which is why Jerry Jones loves him. Anyways, and then the third bullet point I have here is championships. Alabama brought in Nick Saban from the NFL to college because they knew that Nick Saban could win a championship as he did at LSU. And they've absolutely hit a home run with him. And, winning multiple championships, forming the greatest modern day dynasty in any sport ever. And then, Les Miles to Kansas. Les Miles probably doesn't go anywhere unless he wins that national championship that he did in, what was it, 09? Was it 09? Something like that. But yeah, you bring in a coach like Urban Meyer going from from Florida to Ohio State. Bring in a coach that can definitely win a championship, and you get paid accordingly. So why do coaches get fired? So the first thing I have is failing to reach expectations after a reasonable amount of time. So I throw in the reasonable amount of time because I don't believe that coaches should be one and done. Unless they're interim, kind of like a Joe Philbin. Like, I don't want Joe Philbin coming back as being Green Bay's head coach. I'd rather them go out and get Josh McDaniels, or even if you offer up enough money, John Harbaugh. No problem with that. Anyways, but you kind of want to set up a trend line when you're coaching, especially with upper management. Like, hey, realistically, we're going to win. Like, say you take over a 4-win team. It's normal when a coach gets fired when you win 4 games in a season. So you want to turn a 4-win team into, let's say, like a 6-win team. Then from a 6-win team to an 8-10-win team, and from an 8-10-win team to a 12 to a 13-win team. And that's it's a reasonable progression. You get better every year. Granted, it might not be those big of jumps, but at least you're getting better every year. And say you just are kind of like a Marvin Lewis. You can make it to the playoffs. You can't win in the playoffs. You're showing that you can't keep a reasonable trend line going upward. And yes, does this kind of lead your way to, well, what happens when you win a national championship or win a Super Bowl? Well, you're kind of expected to do the same thing the following year. It's hard. It's tough. That's why they get paid millions of dollars. It's a tough job. That's why only 32 people get to do it every year, being a coach in the NFL. And there's 60 some odd Power 5 teams, 60 to 70 Power 5 teams. There's only 60 head coaching jobs. It's a pretty tough job. About a little more than 100 people can do it every year, be a head coach in a Power 5 or an NFL team. It's tough. I'm sorry. It's not a very forgiving profession. And so you're expected to meet expectations every year, and if you fail to meet them, that's why you get fired. And then another reason is failing to exceed your salary worth. So just in any job you've ever gotten, you get paid a certain amount of salary. And yes, I'm cutting into a communist point here, but the reason why they hire you is because they believe that you're going to exceed the value in which they are paying you. I mean, that's the whole point of hiring factory workers. Like, yeah, factory workers doing a lot more than $30,000 a year, or whatever. Factory workers get paid $55,000. Let's just say something around there. They put out more than they're paid, yes, but that's also the point of the job. Like, you're always supposed to be able to produce more than you're actually paid, and that's why people ask for raises, to meet how much they've actually put out. But in order to get a raise, you have to at least prove that you can do, or you can put out X amount of profit. So if you're a Jim Harbaugh and the third highest paid head coach in college football right now, and you're just below Dabo Swinney, who's won a national championship and is dominating the ACC, and right below Nick Saban, who's won multiple national championships, and then I guess not as of this year, but as of last year, you're in front of Urban Meyer, who's won 3 national championships at 2 different schools. So you can make an argument that, yeah, Jim Harbaugh should get fired. I don't think he should be. Particularly, I think he's vastly overrated. And yes, you do determine if someone is overrated based on their actual worth to said company/organization. It's just how it works. And then the third little bullet point I have here is external scandals. This is mostly kind of directed at Maryland's head coach, or I guess former head coach. You know, you kill a kid during, I guess, off-season training due to heat exhaustion. Yeah, it was the strength and conditioning coach, but as we've kind of learned from Ohio State with Zach Smith and Urban Meyer, you're kind of responsible for your the people that you hire. It's kind of your responsibility. And so, yeah, external stuff like that, it's actually a big factor, and I understand why people get fired for those reasons. All right, now, when should they get fired? When a team strays too far negatively away from their reasonable trend line. So this, as we talked about earlier, trend lines, which we'll want to win X amount of games this year, plus 2 to 3 next year, plus 2 to 3 the year after that. So you're trending upward. And then this also can apply to recruiting. Like, I want to become a better recruiter every year, go from like a rank 60 in the standings to like 50 to 40 to 30 and kind of move up there. And so when you stray too far negatively away from that, like, hey, maybe you won 6 games this year, and oh shit, you won 4 games the following year, and you had a recruiting class of like a top 25, and oh, now it's top 40. Like, for those reasons, like, yes, you should get fired then. If you're, especially after a reasonable amount of time, it's, yeah, once you've proven it that you can't maintain pace on a tread line, then you should get fired. Second, when a coach becomes too big of a distraction to be effective. This is more directed at the Urban Meyer Zach Smith thing. Like, that was huge, and I guess the Columbus media kind of downplayed the shit out of it because that thing died like immediately. I honestly, I think it should still be a story. And yes, I do not like Urban Meyer because he coached at Florida. Call me biased. Fuck it. I don't really care. But, I mean, the guy beat his wife, and yes, you are responsible for your assistant coaches, for your strength coaches. And you got to take responsibility for that, especially when you knew about it. And yes, those texts did come out. And yes, Urban Meyer did ask people to wipe his phone clean. And yes, it was an internal audit, basically. And the people were just like, oh yeah, we don't need your phone for a couple days, although we needed it now. And then, yeah, like, we'll go through the phone with you instead of taking it away, or taking the SIM card or something like that. Like, it rubs me the wrong way every fucking time I hear about it. And then third is basically my Butch Jones defense of when a coach proves to be too inept to coach. Basically, this is repetitive misuse of clock. So, Andy Reid. Horrible play calling. Just basically every time Butch Jones ever called or put out a defense. Like the 4th and forever in Gainesville. The Hail Mary in Gainesville, which we were pressing with like 10 seconds left. And I think they were on their own 40. They just burned like 10 seconds of clock. So what, they're going to run a deep out and then maybe kick like a 50-yard field goal, Butch? Really? A college kicker is going to boot down a 50-yard field goal. I'll take those odds 10 out of 10 every time. Play prevent. Even if you don't fucking press. That's all I ask. He was so inept, especially down the stretch. Even some of the play calls in like Alabama when we lost by like, 5 points. Although you could say that, yeah, it was either Pollard or Medley should have knocked down like 66% of his field goals. Would have been nice if we would have won that game. But he's proven time and time again that he's completely inept at play calling and just coaching in general. And then this last option, or this last little thing for underperforms with talent, this is more Mike McCarthy of, hey, you had Aaron Rodgers for several years. Why couldn't you do anything with him besides win one Super Bowl? Yeah, winning a Super Bowl is hard. Sure, 100%. I agree with that. You still have Aaron Rodgers, arguably one of the best throwers of the football. If he wins like one more championship, he's there with GOAT, or with the GOAT conversation. I mean, Tom's got it now, and I hate saying that. It feels terrible coming out of my mouth. But it's true. I despise it, but Tom Brady's the GOAT, and the only way to do that is if you get, or the only way to dethrone him is if Aaron wins one or two more Super Bowls. It'd honestly be a great debate then, but Mike McCarthy kind of ruined his prime. Well, guys, thanks for staying with me for this long. I appreciate it. If you like the video, drop a like. If you want to hear more of me, drop a sub. Comment below if you think there's other reasons why coaches should get fired. And I hope you all have a good one. See you.